Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Families Fly Free podcast. I'm Lynn Mettler, your host and the creator of Families Fly Free. So today I've got another travel rewards success story for you. We've got Dave Banks, who is just into his second year as a Families Fly Free member. But he's been so active and involved and such a contributing part of our community since he joined that I was just telling him, it seems like he's been here a lot longer than that. And he's really a great example of how to really get the most out of Families Fly Free by just jumping in and taking full advantage of all that we have to offer. So I brought Dave in to just kind of share his story and tips that he's learned along the way. So, welcome, Dave. Could you just start us off by telling us a little bit about yourself and your family?
Absolutely. Um, so I live in Oregon, but probably not the green side you're thinking of. I live in rural Oregon on the east side. I have a family of six, although most of them, I only have one at home still. So most of them are off to college is kind of the age group that my kids are in and learning how to be adults. So
Yeah, that's where I am. I'm straddling that line right now, soon to be all the way in there. Do the older ones travel with you ever?
we haven't had everybody travel with us yet, but
Hmm.
that's the plan. Particularly as we move into next year.
Okay, fantastic. So let's start with, how did you get into travel rewards to begin with?
So I was thinking back about this and, you know, probably took a Southwest flight. I have a Rapid Rewards account that I think I opened in 2000, 2002, sometime around then. But it was just like, hey, I'm flying. So yeah, I'll try to get some points and we'll see where this goes. And probably all I did with it for a long, long time until I came across your program. And then the other kind of dipping the toe into travel rewards was in 2023. We took a trip as a family on a cruise and flew to Florida, and so had a coworker who had Alaska Airlines, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you get a great, lots of points, and you can probably, make a bunch of trips." And so we tried that, and we both my wife and I ended up each getting credit cards with 60,000 miles and think, oh, wow, that's a lot of miles. You could do something with that. But really, we burned them all on that, both of those rewards, all in that one trip because we just didn't know how to use travel rewards wisely. So,
Yeah, and that reminds me of one of the first things I did, which I've talked about on here, but I got an American card and it was about that amount of points. And I was like, I can't do anything with this for a family of four. This is not enough, you know? So just didn't have a strategy in place at all. Just kind of that random, like, oh, might as well take this offer. So were you spending on the Southwest card that you've had for a long time?
no, we weren't doing that. We just kind
Mm,
of had it and really then just got rid of it
okay.
and didn't do much with it after a while. And then for a long time, my philosophy was, oh, credit cards are just for emergencies or, something out of the ordinary. And so coming along and coming across your system and the way you explained it, um, it made a lot of sense to me. And so probably within the last year, I've totally done a 180 on my thoughts on credit cards and how you use them and how they can help me out as well. So
Could you talk a little bit more about that? Like, what would you tell someone who was you a year ago? Because that is a common thing that I hear a lot.
um, I think as long as you're the type of person that can spend responsibly and make sure that you aren't spending past your means that you have on a monthly basis, and you can pay your credit cards off every month. I'm not maintaining a balance. I don't want to maintain a balance on a credit card. That ends up costing me money. And so just kind of listening to how you and others in the Families Fly Free uh, forum have talked about this and learning, okay, maybe it's not such a bad deal. And so the way that I manage mine is on about a weekly basis. I kind of go in and see, okay, what have I spent? Okay, let's go pay that off, even though there's not a payment due, just to keep me so I can track that, where I'm at, make sure I'm not spending over what I have the ability to pay off.
Yeah. And I think that's a great practice. Like I said, yeah, if you do it weekly, you can do it every other day, as long as you do it by the due date. But I tend to like to do it more often too. So it's just coming right out of my bank account as if I was using my debit card. Um, but yeah, it's getting over this idea that is out there that credit cards just are universally bad. And and when you're using a debit card, you're not getting anything. That's bad.
No, that's where we were for a lot of years. It's just like, oh, debit. Okay, I can see what's coming out of my bank account, and so a
Yeah.
little bit of a mental switch, but I found a way to make it work. So
Yeah, and you've been able to manage that transition well. Yes. So, so since but let's talk about why you then decided to make the jump and the investment in Families Fly Free.
so my story is part of my job. I'm outside quite a bit, particularly in the warmer months, and so I stumbled across the Families Fly Free podcast, and in the area where I live, there's not radios, pretty poor, and so anyways, and I enjoy podcasts and books and those types of things. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be out here 3 days a week for 3 weeks in a row. I need something to listen to, and it's like, okay, I want to learn how to travel and fly, and so you can put any kind of search in there, or lots of other options come up for travel podcasts. But what I liked about yours is it included families, and at least from what I could read a little bit about just the podcast was, okay, this seems like something that fits with my values and the way that I want to think about traveling. And so I started to listen to these podcasts, and sometimes it was, oh, that sounds really cool, and other times like, I don't know if that's right. That sounds too good to be true. But so back and forth and back and forth, and so finally, I talked it over with my wife, and I said, hey, I want to try this, and that maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but I've got to know more about this. And so that's when I joined about a year ago. But the things that I was hearing on the podcast, and whether it was you talking about the system that you've developed, or it was other members talking about places they traveled, or doing like I'm doing now, kind of,
Now
hey,
you're on the podcast.
yeah, how did you come to this, and how are they using it? And the thing I liked is it's besides families and focusing on families and how you can do that travel with them. It also is unique. I'm like we talked about. I have college age kids, but there's people with young families. There's retirees. There's solo travelers. So it wasn't just a one size fits all. And you see that as I've interacted with people in the community. That and it's really interesting to me to see how they're using it. But that's kind of how I came to it. And I said, okay, let's jump in and let's try this. And worst case scenario, I'd say, okay, in a year, oh, that was interesting, but I'm out. But obviously, that wasn't it.
You're in for year two.
Yep.
So how did you get over the "it's too good to be true" hurdle?
I think I just got to a point where I just was like, okay, I'm willing to put some money there, and see how this really works, and get to know the system and learn the system, and so it was just probably like with any purchase you make, you just kind of reach a point where you're like, yeah, that's worth it, and I'm going to try it. So
Yeah, it's worth you have to get to the point where it's worth the risk to give it a go, right? So yeah, you reached the point of it was
absolutely.
a calculated risk. That's what they call it, I think. um,
Well,
okay.
and really, it didn't cost me anything to invest, to kind of put a little bit down, because like many people, for the where I work, I get some per diem. So I said, okay, well, I'll use that money. It was kind of free money, so in some ways I'm not out anything if I decide this wasn't a good investment.
Yeah. So, did you face any challenges as you were getting started and learning the system?
Yeah, a few. We had some, probably one thing I learned. So I thought, oh, well, I'll have my wife be the one that's going to earn the companion pass because she's a teacher. So I thought, okay, she'd have like summers that would be easy to travel. And um, like I've heard other people on here talk about, usually there's kind of one person that's really interested in kind of the system and learning how to do it. And not that she's not interested, she just doesn't want to invest the time. But that was a little bit of a hurdle. There were a few times when I said, okay, I need you to call Southwest and I'm going to talk you through what I need you to talk to them about. And that was stressful for her.
Yeah,
Uh, so I guess lesson learned, I would, if you're going to start out, start with yourself because you're probably the one that's interested in knowing the
that's a good
system and
tip.
using it.
Yeah,
Uh, but then as we got to where we had done all our earning on our cards and had earned the points, there was a little bit of a hiccup with Chase um, with getting the points rolled in. And so it took kind of an extra month for some reason. And for some reason, they had her name associated with a different account. And so it just took a little bit of time to get that in. But it didn't really affect anything. We didn't have any trips that we were planning in the near future. So it was just a hiccup.
yeah, and I mean, like I'm seeing a couple of those right now with different people and Chase, and um, I got to advise people like push through it, right? Like it's a little bit annoying when that happens. I have a friend just here right in town and same thing, just things are a little bit annoying. I was like, hang with it. I promise you on the other side of this, you're gonna have companion pass, you're gonna have all these points, you're gonna be so happy with it. Um and and that's where we try to help too, like you can reach out to us, right? And because we do this all the time, we know what's normal, and again, just flat out Chase just gets things wrong. We know it's wrong, and we can be like, no, that's wrong, keep pushing back, um because once and usually that happens like once or something, that you have a major hiccup, and then it's so much better on the other side, right? Do you have any
Yes, it
advice you would
is.
give people in that situation?
Um, yeah, just push through it. So like I said, in our situation, I think it was just kind of a on Chase's end a little bit, and so we didn't choose to reach out to you guys, but we could have if we wanted to. We just didn't think there was anything that would change in that, and it was
Yeah.
just a process that Chase had to figure out. And so, but yeah, it's absolutely worth it. I mean, once you have the points, to me, then that's bringing it. I'm always looking every week, getting on to the Southwest. It's like, okay, where could we think about traveling, and what are the deals, and how can we use these points so that we can go and see some amazing things and have some amazing experiences, whether it's just my wife and I, or we're taking some of the kids or all of the kids.
Yeah, and just this makes me think of, because like you'll barely remember that blip, right? One now that you're doing all this stuff. When my older son was trying to get his driver's license and he had to go take the test over and over and over again, I was like, I know this is annoying, but when you have your driver's license, you will just not even remember that that you had to take the test 3 times. I mean, a little bit, but yeah, it just won't matter anymore. So just yeah, hang with it. If you're having trouble, it's worth it. So what has been, say, your favorite part of Families Fly Free, or a surprising part?
Um, so I have a couple of things. So one, all the resources that you get as you join, and so there's the courses, and kind of when you come in, you do the new member course, which walks you through some of the basics, kind of sets the foundation for helping you to grow and add on to however you want to use the Families Fly Free system. Um, there's the videos, there's the Q&A, um, the other meetings where it's either you or maybe some of the other members in Families Fly Free that are talking about trips that they've taken and how they did it. There's all kinds of resources, not only flying, but staying in hotels, cars, apps. Um, to use. And then I like that it's a simple system. I do have a sister-in-law that does another system that's free, but it takes a lot of her time. So and so I think that's the value that we get with it's money well spent to kind of have you and your team be able to provide us, hey, here's what's going on, here's how looked at it, this is what we think is the best way to use it, as opposed. So it doesn't take me all that time. Could I
Yeah.
do it? Sure, I could figure it out, but it seems like it's money well spent to have a team of people that kind of are looking around in this all the time. And then for me, it's absolutely the community. And so you get on and we have the Kajabi app and that gets you access to the inside. And so you just see people on there, whether it's, they have questions about credit cards or flights or issues they've had or trips they've taken. Um, that's just great to get on there. And I love to just go on and see what people are doing and how they're using um, travel and travel rewards to use it in a way that just fits them. So, and it's been able to make some great friends. One of the other things I really like, we just did our kind of our fall Halloween social. And so those socials, I really like those because you get a little bit more time to virtually meet some of the members and have a little bit of time to chat with them. So
Yeah, so Dave's talking about we just had we do this twice a year, a members social over Zoom where everybody comes, whoever wants to come can come. Video is on, and then we break into small groups. We pick a fun travel topic or question to discuss in the group. We play games, we give away prizes, and it's just makes it feel like more of a close-knit community. And what I see as someone who's run this now for 5 years, like if you want to really be successful in this membership is just to show up and participate. And like you said, you've already made friends in a year, you know, and I hear that so much. I was just back and forth with the member today and he was like, oh, another member reached out to me and we chatted by phone and she wanted to know my strategy and how I was approaching this. And, like everyone is so willing to help everyone else. And it is inspiring just to be like, oh, they did it this way. Interesting. Maybe I'll try it. Um, so I love the community too. Again, I always say that was a surprise for me in creating this at how wonderful that has become. Um,
so yeah, it was funny. Last night we came across something on social media is asking you all these questions. And so one of the questions is, you know, so I asked my wife, she says, what would you describe what kind of animal you would be and why? And she says, oh, you'd be a grizzly bear because you're cuddly with me, but you're grumpy with everybody else. So generally, like people are kind of at arm's length, um, but I really love the community. I really love that aspect of it, which has been a little bit of a surprise for me.
yeah. Well, I don't think you're grumpy. You seem the opposite of that to me. But yeah, I mean, like Dave's done a great job of just showing up and participating and contributing when he's gone on a trip and sharing what they did and pictures. And so when you give too, you get back, I think, and that's an important part. And just making yourself known, like we know you and the members know, so you just get a lot more. I can help you more if I know you and more about your family, and I want to, like that's what's fun for me. Um, all right. So how about tell us about some of the trips that you've taken using travel rewards and how Families Fly Free was able to help you put those together.
All right, so our first trip that we took was last February, and we went to San Diego, and
Yay.
and it was an interesting trip for us. We thought, oh, we'll go. It was well, maybe it was March because it was spring break, which made it easier to go. But anyway, so we'll go and we'll go down there. It was like, oh yeah, it'll be warm. Spring. I want to go somewhere where it's warm. And we're going on spring break, and so the weather actually was kind of so-so in San Diego, which was an anomaly.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we went down there and we went out on some whale watching, marine mammal watching tour. We went to La Jolla, which we really liked that and spent a lot of time there,
Hmm.
just kind of hanging out in La Jolla and getting the vibe there. Um, we did uh, we did go across the U.S. Mexico border and went across it there to Tijuana. I remember doing that as a teenager. That was kind of one of those things. It's like, it's better as a teenager. I remember it better as a teenager than what our experience was. We had some great food, Mexican food over there across the border, and then we hopped on the train and went back up to San Diego. And then we really loved, and I wish we would have found Balboa Park earlier. We didn't do the zoo, which is located there, but it was just great walking around the park and looking at some of the art in the galleries that they have there, some of the statues and the flowers. So that
Yeah,
was
beautiful park.
kind of our first trip into that. And it was my wife and myself and my daughter that's still here at home. Um, our other trip that we took using travel rewards was my wife and I went to the Florida Keys in August, and um, like I said, she's a teacher, so it's easier to work around. It's kind of hard to work around her schedule when school's in. So we went in August, and we had a wonderful time. I think we were there for 4 or 5 days. Flew into Miami, drove south, went snorkeling, had some great food. The locals there, all the recommendations for places to eat were spot on. And probably the one place that we just kind of picked off of Yelp was not the greatest, but it's okay. It's a learning experience. Um, we also did a night kayak tour where you kind of have a clear bottom kayak, and they have lights, and you have the guide that goes around, and went through the mangroves. Went to a historic fort down in Key West, and yeah, just had a great time just spending time together. Kayaked out. The resort we stayed at had kayaks and bikes and all that kind of stuff. And then I like to fish, and so it worked out well in the mornings. I would go out and fish, and my wife was able to sleep in, and I'd say, "What time do you want me back?" And then we'd get going with the rest of the day. But it was great, and even at the end, we ran into the rain as we were going back to the airport and had delayed flights. But that was even fun adventure. So just a great time. And a lot of those things we probably wouldn't have done. We probably, or you would have been stressed. I would have been stressed about, we're spending, we paid for flights, we paid for hotels, and plus we're doing these other activities on top of it. We got to eat, and you know, we didn't pay for flights, we didn't pay for any of our stays. So all those other activities, yeah, we spent money on them, but the stress level was way down. So just an enjoyable time.
Yeah, and people often say they're able to do more of those type of activities because they didn't spend the money on the flights or the hotels.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And did, some of our content help you decide what to do on those trips?
Yeah. So one of the videos, Cami, one of the people that are in Family Fly Free, she had done kind of a trip that her and her husband had taken in the Keys, and then I'd reached out to Lisa, one of the other staff members, and so both of them kind of said, "Hey, we're here to help you. If you have any questions, we can make recommendations." And so yeah, so not only having the content and kind of a little that probably sparked my interest because my wife's only request was, "Hey, we should get away just the two of us before school starts." So I just said, "How about the Florida Keys?" And that's probably because I saw Cammy's video. It's like that looks like a great place to go. So
And was that something, you were expecting to get as a member?
no, I don't know. I don't know that I knew they existed. Maybe, but yeah, as I kind of delved in, it's like, oh, here's all these different trips, and they're kind of sorted. It's easy to kind of say, okay, I want to look at these. So early on, I was trying to get the rest of the family, and it's like, all right, let's do like a weekly. We can watch one of these travel things, and I found out I was more interested
That's a
in
good
it than they
idea.
were. So
Yeah.
then I just watched them and look where people travel. But yeah, so all of those are give you great ideas. Some of the stuff that we saw, like we had a member that went to Scotland and talked about, how they traveled in Scotland. And so just all that content of what people are doing and how they're using it. And it's probably, the way I might think about using it is probably different from how you're going to use it. But, it all helps us have ideas and suggestions of things we might do and places we might want to travel.
Yeah. I think that's so important, and particularly as you start learning how to do this for free, then suddenly you can go a lot more places, but you don't know where to go.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of choices.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've tried to get the family to like tell me where you want to go because I know where I want to go, but this isn't just me deciding where we go.
Yeah.
So
Yep. So are you able to quantify at all what you think you've been able to save?
I kind of looked back. That's one of the products that you get is a spreadsheet that helps you track stuff, and it's kind of pre-made. So could I go make a spreadsheet? Absolutely, I could make a spreadsheet to do the same things, but it's already there in the to use, and it's kind of set up to use it. So I've enjoyed that and tracked that, and so I looked at that before I got on today. And so with 2 trips, I've saved $2,367.30. So
Wow, that's to
um,
the penny.
yeah, so it's and was it worth it? Absolutely. In that I've more than paid for my membership twice, my initial cost plus renewing this year. So
Right. Yeah, and you haven't even taken any trips this year yet. I mean, for your year two.
it, yep.
Um, so why did you decide to renew for the second year?
Um, it was just a lot of it, the community, but also the value and the simpleness. And I guess that's what I mean by value is just the ease of the system. You know, I know that I'm going to have an email from you on a weekly basis that's kind of saying, "Hey, here's what's going on, and here's ways that you might want to think about using it, or here's these deals that you might want to take advantage of." So that's useful in trying to use the information that you're providing just on a weekly basis. It's being connected. I love going to the Q&As that we have because you hear different members and things they're struggling with, or problems they're having, and you guys can talk through, or you can provide your input on how you might think about doing that. So just that value in being able to be part of the community, and then also having the opportunity to help others. If they're traveling close or to a destination you've been to, or close to maybe where you live, and you can say, "Hey, this is some things you might want to do," or I just like being able to provide some of that if I have some knowledge about something. So um, I think it's the people that's really what brought me back.
I love that. Yeah, because you've provided information about Oregon and to yeah, in there quite a bit. So yeah, so for the people that would say like, well, I can just get in and learn it and be out right after year one. That wasn't you know the system now, right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I could, and I was listening. You had the podcast the other day that was going out on the that goes to everybody, where you had kind of the 3 or 4 members there, and Carlos was saying, he was talking on there about, oh, that was my plan. I was going to
Yeah.
come in, learn the system, and I was going to be out. And but he's been here 5 years
Yeah.
now, and so I think I'm in the same boat. I might have had that same thought. It's like, I'll see what this is, and maybe then I'll decide if I come back. But it's probably, like I said, the community and just the information, and just the ease of doing the system um, that keeps me coming back.
So what would you tell someone who, was trying to decide if they should invest in this program?
I would say do it, but I'll tell you my experience. I signed up for the program a year ago, and then probably slept on it, and the next day I'm like, oh no, I'm flying, like my main airport I fly out of is Boise. That's the closest one to me. And it's like, I'm never going to get good deals out of Boise to fly anywhere. I don't know if this system, like having a little regret. Like, well, okay, calm down. Let's work the system, and let's see how how it works, and so the system works for sure. And so I've been able to get some good deals, and actually as I've learned how to look at things, Boise's actually not a bad airport to fly out of for the West. Um, I have other options. Portland, I could go to Portland. That's a little further. Um, but yeah, so my fears about, oh no, this is going to be bad. It's not going to work for my airport. Um, as I learned the system and was able to work it, totally, totally allayed, and it's definitely worth somebody's money to learn the system as long as they're going to do it. I mean, if they
Yeah,
don't
do
want to
it.
work the system, then it's not going to work for them.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, don't join and then not do anything, which does happen. Don't do that. Um, so in terms of, your fears about your airport, so were you able, like, you said you were able to find some good deals, or was it just that you had enough points anyway to do what you wanted?
Both, I would say. But so a good example is, when we went to the Florida Keys, we flew to Miami, and I got fares for 5,000 points each way. That only cost us, 10,000 points total because
Right.
I was a companion, and so that was really good. Versus, sometimes I'll look like, oh, we could like go to Boise and we could fly to Seattle or somewhere, closer in the West, and I look at that and it's like, they want 5,000 points to fly to Boise. It's like I could fly to Florida for 5,000 points. Uh, so at that, and I look at like Orlando out of Boise. Usually, that's you know you can get it for 3,500 to 5,000 points if you're looking at the right time and able to work some of the systems and tips and tricks that you learn in Families Fly Free. So yeah, totally, totally worth it. And I don't think it matters what airport you're flying out of, as long as it's, Southwest, I think, has the best system. I guess that's another thing I'll say is as I learned your system, and I know you have some of the podcasts about Southwest. I was like, oh, Southwest, because at the time they didn't have the seat assignment, and so you have your podcast to go through that, and it's like, okay, that makes sense. I can buy into that, and but I've come to be a real fan of Southwest, and the way that they do things, and they've had some really great customer service people that I've been able to help with, whether it's on the phone or at the counter when we were delayed coming back from Miami. So
Yeah, I mean, it's not, again, you're not flying in first class, but it's very comfortable and they're very nice most of the time to deal with.
yes,
There's nothing wrong with them, that's for sure. But yeah, I think you're to your point about, the deals and everything, like someone was just telling me, I'm trying to get her on the system, like, oh, she had to fly to Charlotte just within a week and it was like $900 a person. And I was like, see, it just, if you'd had a companion pass right there, you would have cut, there was two of them going, you would have cut that in half. And I think people don't think about that when yeah, even when you're looking at the deals, like Southwest is almost always going to come out better even if you're comparing someone else that has the same price that they do, if you've got the companion pass, that cuts it in half every time, I mean, for two people. So it's just hard to beat that. And
well,
there
and that,
isn't,
and that can, oh yeah, that companion pass goes for 2 years versus the Alaska Airlines. You get one time to use their bring a companion along, and you still have to pay a little bit of money to bring them along. So
I know, it just doesn't compare at all. But yeah, and there's definitely an art to getting the lowest points price on Southwest, which we really show you how to work that, which is really fun, right? When you can
oh
work
yeah,
that price
it,
down.
I think it is. I see it as a game, but and so maybe that's what intrigues me about it. Is like, okay, let's see what the deal is. Okay, okay, that's what I want. Okay, let's see if we can use some of the tips and secrets that I know to get this to fly when I want to fly.
Yep, absolutely. So, do you have just a tip that you can share about travel based on your last couple of trips or just working the system?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Thinking about that, I was kind of a phrase or a saying for a long time that you can never recall the memories you never make. And
Oh,
so that's, and we have some great memories, not only with these recent trips that we're able to take learning the family's fly free system, but probably one of my favorite memories is early on when my kids were little. We were at Disneyland, and of course, we're going to Disneyland. We're going rope drop to park close, and they were young at the time, so they were just tired, and so we're in Disneyland in California, and they're sitting by the Walt Mickey statue, and one of us is on the bench, and I have a daughter that's a little older, and so one of us is going with her to run and get rides while the other's staying with the others that are kind of sleeping on the bench. And then as they wake up, we we're going through and buying some souvenirs, and they kind of closed down some pin stuff, and they were looking at that, and one of the managers of one of the shops there in Disneyland, he kind of took them aside, like, hey, it was my twin's birthday, and he's like, it's their birthday. We need to open this pin case back up. And then he gave them a pin, and then traded a pin with them, and so just some great memories like that from traveling. And so you can't have those if you're not willing to kind of find ways to make it happen.
yeah. And like, I think there's a cost, which is what you're saying, of not doing this that you're not factoring in. Like, what is the cost if you don't invest in learning how to do this and make those memories? I'm writing that down. That's so good. You can't recall the memories you never made. And what is the value of, I mean, you can't put a value on those. And I like just again
Oh no,
as
no,
I'm reaching
they're
the point
priceless.
of yeah, of both kids about out of the house, I'm just infinitely grateful that I did this 10 years ago, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah. And I think we were real similar to you. We traveled and did stuff, but we were limited on budget and how far we could go and how we could travel. And so, um, but yeah, I mean, those memories are, I mean, they're priceless. And sometimes the kids use them on me to say, "Remember when you did this?" It's like, "Oh, that was really funny," or each other. So.
Yeah. Okay, do you have a trip planned next?
I have three that I'm working on. They're in the planning stage. So I have a trip for not me personally, but my wife and my um, middle daughter. When she gets out of college, we're trying to send them somewhere warm to Miami. So trying to work that. Working on a quick trip for my wife and I in February to try and go to Oahu. There was a great
Nice.
deal out of Portland, so we had to travel a little bit, but it was a really great deal. And then another trip around that same time, February. I'm a big hockey fan, and I really like the Edmonton Oilers. And Connor McDavid is one of the top players in the NHL, and they're going to be playing in San Jose. And so, trying to work a trip where we can fly in for a quick weekend, my wife and I, and go watch the game, but also enjoy whatever else there is to do around San Jose.
Yeah, that's such a great one too. We have so many members who do that to just different sporting events or whatever. And again, one of my favorite memories was taking my son, who's going to graduate here, football player, to the NFL Pro Bowl because for years we'd watch it on TV and he'd be like, "Oh, mom, it'd be so fun to go to that." And so one year we just gifted it to him for Christmas, like, "We're going to the Pro Bowl," you know? And that was so fun, so fun for him. You got to see all the players up close and,
Oh yeah,
the best.
absolutely.
So you can just do those kinds of things without worry, Like that didn't cost us hardly anything. It was flying to Orlando. I mean, in points, we stayed at a hotel for 2 nights and that was it, and then headed back and super easy to do and one of the best memories ever.
Oh yeah, yeah, and potentially those quick trips. Yeah, like you say, there's almost no cost because of the way that you can use your points to either negate flights or rental cars or other expenses, hotels, lodging, all of that. So
Yep. All right. Anything else you want to share or want people to know?
no, I can't think of anything.
Okay, we talked through it all.
I think so.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining me today, for sharing your experience now with others. You were listening to others' experiences now, so you're one of the veterans now who can share with others. So um, we can't wait to hear how Oahu goes and all the success you have in the next year. So thanks so much, Dave, and thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you next week.